It took Jenica a long time, too long, to recognize the voice. Her cousin Sophia was looking for her youngest children. Jenica's mind wobbled and tilted. She remembered the 2 little boys toddling into the back of the Smith station wagon and curling up in the nest of blankets. Jenica whirled at another explosion and saw the front panel of that very station wagon burst apart in a shower of sparks. She thought she saw the frantic slapping and grasping of tiny hands against the back window, but didn't wait to be sure. She gathered the flapping ends of her bathrobe and sprinted, her bare feet sinking into the muddy ground as she ran toward the burning car. From somewhere behind her, she heard the awful sound of breaking glass and screaming men. At any moment, fire could reach the old wagon's main fuel line and turn the rattle trap into a fireball, but Jenica wasn't thinking about that. She saw the ghost of a child's panicking face in the back window, and nothing else mattered. The station wagon was ancient and rickety. Maybe the locks on the back door were broken. Maybe one of the bastards had jammed the lock, condemning the people in the car to a smothering, burning death. Or maybe the children trapped in that inferno were too young to stop and think through their situation. Jenica grabbed the lever on the rear door and pulled. The metal was searing hot, and she screamed, feeling blisters form on her palms. The door popped open with a rusty groan, high and shrieking against the low rumble of fire. Filthy blankets smudged with smoke and grime spilled onto the wet ground. The first of the 2 little boys tumbled out of the car, scrambling between Jenica's legs for shelter. There was no sign of the second child. Another explosion boomed, and a rain of mud and pebbles showered the back of Jenica's head. "Boy!" She leaned into the smoky cab of the station wagon. She scrambled through the blankets, searching. "Scream!" she coughed. "Say anything!" Her hands fell on something solid, a little boy's exposed tummy. She staggered up and away from the car, doubling over with the limp body cradled to her chest. The other twin was at her knee, tugging at her robe. "Misha!" he screamed, his face smeared with ash and snot. "Misha, wake up!" Heaving and retching, Jenica carried the limp boy away from the burning car. As she stumbled and pitched forward into the grass, she threw her arm out to catch herself from crushing the unconscious boy. At least she prayed he was only unconscious. She lifted her head over the weeds and looked around. The Boswell homestead belched fire from one blown-out window. The Romany men were barefooted and bleary-eyed, but they had rallied and met the invaders in a melee. Andre, half naked and barefooted, sank his shillelagh into the spine of the man who was kicking a limp figure on the ground. Cousin Luca was bleeding from a scalp wound, but throwing fists to make Grandpa proud, even as 2 masked men wrestled him into the mud. A shadow fell across Jenica's view, and she blinked up into the face of a broad-shouldered man in a thick jacket. He wore studded fingerless gloves and a black hood that turned his eyes into wide white orbs, and his mouth into a tooth-lined gash. He loomed over Jenica and the boys like a monster in a bedtime story. Jenica scrambled to push herself between the man and the children. "Gypsy drunks," the man spat. A wad of warm white phlegm landed on Jenica's collarbone. More than anything else, more than the fighting and the fires and the violence, that old stereotype made Jenica absurdly angry. Yes, most of the camp had gone well into the drink. For the love of God, it was her wedding night. These cowards must have known. They must have planned their attack for when they knew the men would be vulnerable, the children deep asleep, the women too distracted to pick up their knives. The bastard crouched, leaning forward until Jenica could see the flecks of spit spraying from his mouth. She heard the boy coughing behind her. It was a beautiful sound, but Jenica didn't dare look around. "Run!" she commanded the boys. "Run! Go!" "Whores," the man hissed. "Kill the infidels wherever you find them. Kill them! Such is the recompense of the infidels and the whores." He was on her then, stumbling and heavy, kicking her into the mud. That was fine, she thought as her vision blurred, as pain blossomed out from her cracking ribs and her robe twisted and tore.